Welcome to another exciting episode of our movie. Trust me, you're gonna love this one. I bet on it. At the end of this movie, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to get more of our latest releases. Just relax and enjoy. The story begins with Barney sleeping that morning when a call from her mom woke her up. Her mom asked her to come home for a vacation since she was on leave from work, so the whole family could spend time together. However, Barney refused, saying she needed time for herself to rest. Despite her response, her mom insisted and ended the call, leaving Barney feeling frustrated. Later that day, Barney discussed the vacation with her friend. Her friend asked if she planned on going, but Barney insisted she wasn't. Her friend then tried to persuade her by mentioning that her sister would be there, but Barney replied that she didn't care since they hadn't spoken in 2 years. Her friend was surprised and continued trying to convince her, and eventually, Barney reluctantly agreed to go. Her friend then mentioned a rumor that her ex-boyfriend, Pius, was getting married soon, which shocked Barney. She coughed and asked why her friend was telling her this, claiming she didn't care about Pius. Her friend went quiet, but then Barney asked if the woman he was marrying was beautiful, which angered her friend, who walked away, saying she thought Barney didn't care. The next morning, Barney arrived at her family's house and knocked. To her great surprise, her ex, Pius, opened the door, leaving her shocked. Her mom came out, hugged her, asked Pius to take her bag inside, and suggested they spend time together in their room before walking away. Barney warned Pius not to touch her as they both went inside. Once inside the room, they argued. Barney asked why he was there, and he replied that her mom had invited him. Barney reminded him that they broke up 5 months ago, so he shouldn't be there. Pius responded that if she had told her mom about their breakup, he wouldn't have come, as it wasn't his place to inform her mom. He then smirked, suggesting that perhaps she hadn't told her mom because she still hoped they'd get back together. Barney grew angry and attempted to slap him, but Pius held her hand, warning her not to start, and then left, leaving Barney frustrated. During dinner, as they were eating, Barney's mom mentioned that her sister had prepared the meal, noting that her cooking skills were improving. Barney responded with a sarcastic, "Good for her." Her sister joked back, saying, "Coming from someone who can't even boil water for mom, good for me indeed." Pius complimented her cooking, and they continued eating. After dinner, Barney went to her mom's room and asked for a different room. When her mom inquired why, she said she just wanted some space to clear her head. Her mom refused, insisting that Barney should stay with her, man, as that was the best way to clear her head. Barney continued to complain, which angered her mom, who warned that she wouldn't be happy if she had to send Pius away. Frustrated, Barney left. Later that night, as Barney and Pius were trying to sleep, Pius's snoring kept Barney awake, so she kicked him out of the bed. Pius, irritated, insulted her, and they exchanged words until she forced him to sleep on the couch, where he continued snoring. The next morning, Pius was helping Barney's mom in the kitchen when Barney entered. He held her hand, complimenting her beauty to make her mom think they were still dating. Her mom then asked where Barney was going, and Barney replied that she was heading to the store for toiletries. Pius insisted on accompanying her despite her objections, and they left together. On the way back, they argued, with Barney accusing him of not telling her mom about their breakup, and adding that he could have been spending time with his new fiancée. She warned him to stay out of her way while they were both in the house, and they continued the drive in silence. Later that night, Barney called her friend to tell her that Pius was around. Her friend was surprised and advised her to play along so her mom wouldn't be devastated by the news of their breakup. After ending the call, Barney went back inside. That same night, Barney refused to let Pius sleep on the bed. They argued again, and Pius tried to use force to stay on the bed, but Barney screamed, causing him to back off. Frustrated, he remarked that women were wicked and resigned himself to sleeping on the couch. The next morning, as they were still asleep, they heard Barney's mom's voice. Pius quickly jumped back into bed and held Barney close. When their mom entered and saw them, she was delighted. Apologizing for interrupting them, she asked if they would like breakfast, and they both agreed before she left. They both separated immediately. That morning, Barney and Pius were outside when Barney mentioned that she'd heard he was engaged. Pius asked why she cared, since he thought she didn't. Barney expressed her disappointment, saying they had been together for years, yet as soon as they broke up, he got engaged within 5 months. Pius tried to explain that it wasn't what she thought, but Barney wouldn't listen and walked away. Pius went inside, and Barney's mom sat him down to talk. She asked when he planned to marry Barney, and he replied that he would try to make it happen as soon as possible. Barney's mom concluded that he should do his best since they both loved each other. Pius later told Barney about his conversation with her mom and suggested they act closer so her mom wouldn't suspect anything. Barney refused, insisting that he should tell her mom the truth. Pius opened the door for her to go, adding that she knew it would break her mom's heart and undo all her efforts to bring them together. Barney finally agreed, but concluded by saying she hated Pius before walking out. Later that day, their mom called them both and asked why they hadn't been posting photos together, mentioning she hadn't seen their pictures online recently. They replied that they just wanted to keep things private, but their mom disagreed, saying that when a man knows a woman is taken, he won't bother her. She then announced that she'd reserved a table for 2 at a restaurant for them and insisted they go, have fun, and upload photos. Barney tried to decline, but her mom insisted, telling them to change clothes, and they eventually left. That evening, they went to the restaurant for the date their mom had planned. They quarreled while eating, and Barney took out her phone to snap a picture as she gave Pius a peck on the cheek. Pius asked if that was it and took out his own phone, saying he had a better idea. He asked her to come closer, but she resisted, telling him to plead with her. He sarcastically complied, then took a picture while stealing a kiss, making Barney angry. Pius stood up, announcing he was going to the car, and left. After a while, they returned home, pretending they'd had a great time, and played along with a fake romance before heading inside. Barney's sister, tired of their act, commented that they'd been behaving like they were on a honeymoon. Their mom told her to mind her business and left. Later that night, Barney complained that she was hungry, but couldn't tell her mom because Pius had already told them they were full, leading to another quarrel. She got up to take a bath, but Pius held her back, claiming he had said it first. Barney refused to back down, and they argued until Pius carried her back to the bed and rushed to the bathroom. She chased after him but couldn't stop him, so she went outside to turn off the water and came back inside. Pius shouted, asking why she'd turned off the water, saying soap was in his eyes. Barney ignored him and turned off the bathroom light, making it dark. Pius screamed, causing their mom and sister to hear them. Their mom then told Barney's sister to ignore it, smiling and saying, "Love is sweet," before heading to her room as the two continued shouting. The next day, Barney was looking for her belongings but couldn't find them. She decided to check Pius's things and was surprised to find a drawing of herself. Pius walked in and shouted at her, telling her not to go through his belongings. He explained that he'd planned to give her the drawing as a gift, but said it no longer mattered. He warned her again not to go through his things. At midnight, Pius woke up feeling hot and shouted at Barney, asking why she'd turned off the air conditioner. She replied that she was cold. Pius got angry, saying, "I should have known. That's typical you. You don't care about anyone's feelings but your own." He lay down, and Barney threw the air conditioner remote at him, telling him to go to hell before going back to sleep. The next morning, Pius was jogging and was surprised to see Barney on his route. He asked why she was jogging, as he had never seen her do so before. Barney got angry, telling him not to act like he still knew her. Pius asked to talk, but she refused, saying she didn't want to hear anything from him and questioning why he still had her pictures if he was engaged. Pius tried to explain, but she wouldn't listen, accusing him of cheating on her and saying she had seen proof. Pius denied it, but she continued shouting, telling him to leave her alone as she walked away, leaving him disappointed. Pius went home angrily and walked in just as Barney's sister. She was calling Pius, but he didn't answer. She wanted to go find him, but her mom stopped her, saying that if he wanted to talk, he would reach out. Her mom also mentioned that this was why her sister always complained about her. This upset her, and she cried, asking why everyone accused her of being a busybody when she was just caring for her family. She went upstairs, intending to pack her bags, but her mom pleaded with her to stay. She cried, saying her sister hadn't spoken to her in years and that they all seemed to blame her. Her mom comforted and consoled her until she calmed down. Later that night, Pius was making the bed when Barney entered and went to her wardrobe. She was surprised to see Pius's clothes in it and got angry. Pius explained that he was tired of going to his suitcase every time he needed something to wear. Barney immediately took all his clothes out, threw them at him, and shouted for him to leave her alone. She stormed off to the bathroom and cried, remembering the good times she had with Pius. That night, Barney went to the kitchen and her mom came in and noticed her mood. Realizing it was because of her relationship, she advised Barney to try to make it work. Pius entered and her mom left them alone, but Barney quickly slipped out, leaving Pius in the kitchen. Later that night, Pius tried to talk to Barney about their relationship, but Barney didn't want to listen. She still accused him of cheating, but Pius insisted he hadn't and asked her to listen. She refused, warning him to leave her alone, and went to sleep. Pius concluded that he would wait until she was ready to listen. The next morning, Pius bought some gifts for Barney. When she woke up and saw them, she became angry, telling Pius to give them to his girlfriends instead, then stormed out. Later that day, Barney's mom sent her on an errand and asked Pius to go along. Although Barney initially declined, Pius and her mom insisted, making her frustrated. As she set out, Pius followed her, but she refused to let him drive her. She got into a cab instead, while Pius followed her in his car. After buying her items, Pius continued to follow her, pleading with her to get in his car, but she refused and took another cab. Unfortunately, the cab broke down on the road. Pius got out of his car and pleaded with her again to come with him, but she still refused, shouting that she didn't want his lover to see her with him. Pius got angry and shouted back that he didn't have a lover, explaining that he was only paid to pretend to be someone's boyfriend to make their real boyfriend jealous. He added that he hadn't cheated. He had only left his laptop on the bed with a message from another woman in hopes that she'd get jealous and pay more attention to him. But it hadn't worked. Finally, he told her to get in the car, and Barney, now feeling remorseful, got in. Back home, Barney tried to apologize, but Pius was really angry. He explained that he loved her deeply, which was why he had stayed despite everything she'd done. Barney continued to apologize, but it didn't change his mind. Pius began packing his things to leave. Barney's sister saw him, tried to stop him, but he didn't respond. She shouted for their mom, who ran out, calling after him, but he had already gone. She then went to Barney's room, but Winnie tried to stop her, and she went inside. Her mom entered and asked what was happening. Barney explained, and her mom was shocked to learn that they had broken up earlier without her knowing. She consoled Barney, promising they would find a way to get Pius back. After a while, Barney's sister came in and comforted her, advising her to show Pius she was truly sorry. She hugged her. Meanwhile, Pius sat in his house, thinking and staring at Barney's picture, feeling lost. The next morning, Barney packed her things to leave. Her family bid her goodbye, advising her to rest for a few days before returning to work. As she reached the gate and was about to leave, she heard Pius's voice and was surprised. She moved closer to him and apologized for everything, admitting her mistakes and promising it wouldn't happen again. Pius asked if they could start over, and she happily agreed as they hugged. Pius then asked what she'd like to do now that they were back together. She replied, jokingly, that she'd like him to paint her or take her on vacation. Pius laughed, saying, "More vacations? Our last one was a nightmare." She replied, "It wasn't a normal vacation. It was with an ex, so it was an EXCATION." Pius looked at her deeply, told her he loved her, and said he missed her. They kissed deeply, then went inside happily, ready to start their life over again. Wow, what an amazing story. Kudos to the producer Maurice Sam. You can catch the full movie on his channel. Thanks for watching. Please don't forget to subscribe to this channel for more interesting and educational stories. See you in our next movie.